Lives lost as Superstorm Sandy pounds America's east coast, paralysing New York. A St Kilda footballer granted bail after facing court. Anger from a murdered mum's family over her killer's jail sentence. Snakes on the move in our suburbs as the weather heats up. And a love rekindled after an incredible 60 years apart.
This is 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. America was warned of a storm not seen in 300 years, and Sandy has delivered, causing widespread destruction. At least 13 people are dead and New York brought to its knees. US correspondent Denham Hitchcock was in Manhattan as Sandy hit and begins our coverage.
A supercharged storm that tore in from the Atlantic.
Whoa, hey guys. Whoa.
A three-pronged attack, screaming winds, drenching rain and a storm surge that drowned the coast.
This city is basically underwater.
Atlantic City, its famous boardwalk, reduced to driftwood.
Check the police, storm's going down.
At sea, a risky helicopter rescue as the replica of the Bounty sank off North Carolina.
First survivors coming out of the raft.
16 on board. Most made it into a life raft. Some extraordinary skills as the pilot and crew winched 14 to safety.
I said, hey, I'm Dan. I heard you guys need a ride.
One dead and the captain still missing. A storm so big, only a picture from space did it any justice. 15 times the size of Cyclone Tracy. So vast it would stretch from Brisbane to Melbourne.
When they tell you to evacuate, you need to evacuate.
I have to keep on reminding myself this is not some beachside suburb or a seaside town, but New York. Streets, cars underwater, and the backdrop? Those city lights are gone. And here, the main arm of a building crane buckled in 80-kilometre-an-hour winds. Tons of steel left swinging over the street below.
Watch your back, folks. Get on the sidewalk.
The wind and rain combined, weakening the front of an apartment block. It collapsed, leaving a doll's house view of the rooms inside. Somehow, no one was injured. Times Square, the lights were on, but everyone was home, including Aussie Tony Marlowe.
We've got some candles, some cards. There are 3 of us here holed up. We seem pretty well. We've got a bathtub full of water just in case.
Lower Manhattan under attack again as a storm surge swept into construction works at Ground Zero and washed into road tunnels and the city's subway.
You can see the water is flowing down into these grates, and you'd think, well, if it's a storm water, well, it's not so bad, but it's not. This is so far up from the coast. What this is the subway tunnel. That is the subway down there, one of the main lines. This is not a storm drain, it is a subway tunnel. So down there, the tracks, all that equipment they have down there, all the power they have running down there is currently being flooded with water, and that is part of this huge damage bill they're going to see from this.
We have seen record surge levels. We're seeing an extraordinary amount of water throughout Lower Manhattan. The latest estimates show roughly 250,000 customers without power.
And this is why. Water floods a substation, there's a fire, and then it explodes. Floods.
Oh my God, it's washed everything away!
Rain and fires. An apartment block ablaze and 25 people rescued. At one of New York's biggest hospitals, the backup generators failed, and so staff had to evacuate patients, including babies. Much of New York is now in darkness, half its residents without power.
It's out of a movie. Everything's grey and moving, the winds are blowing. There's water creeping up, Tribeca. It makes absolutely no sense.
For the first time since the 9/11 attacks, Manhattan is isolated. All its bridges and tunnels closed by the flooding and high winds. Denham Hitchcock, 9 News, New York.
Not only was New York paralysed, an entire country was stopped in its tracks. From the stock market to the presidential campaign, normal life has been put on hold. More from Robert Penfold.
This storm is so big and so brutal, where it first slammed onto land really didn't matter. And now, the freak event smothers most of the east coast of America. Stretching from Florida all the way to Canada, some 1,600 kilometres across. It's the biggest storm ever.
This is going to be a big storm. It's going to be a difficult storm. The great thing about America is when we go through tough times like this, we all pull together.
A year ago, Hurricane Irene wreaked havoc across the eastern United States. Sandy is twice as big, and much more devastating. The biggest threat isn't the wind, as bad as that is, but the storm surge, the rising water that's drowning the coastline, which has triggered now massive flooding. And it's just not the rain. In some areas it's coming down as a snow dump. The wind is blasting all the way up to Canada. They haven't seen weather like this in over 300 years. 11 million people are without power, and that's expected to double as Sandy lumbers slowly inland, through Philadelphia, western New York State, then on to Canada, where it's expected to finally fizzle out, but not until Saturday. With more than 13,000 flights already cancelled, passengers across the country have been stranded, and the backlog will take days to clear. Even the trains have been ordered to stop, leaving passengers with nowhere to go.
Passengers were not stranded, that's the term I would not use, but we terminated the service here in Washington.
It is stranded. You have no transportation for you to get to your destination, so you are stranded.
And the election campaign has ground to a halt. President Barack Obama was a no-show at his own rally in Florida, flying back to Washington to deal with the crisis. As the residents left, the reporters arrived, and they quickly learned too that this storm was one not to be trifled with.
But safely moved away from all of that water.
This does not look good. Oh, excuse me. Oh, it looks like the sandy walkway out to the beach has actually got my food stuff. Oh my gosh. You can see not a pretty picture here in Delaware.
With Wall Street closed because of the weather for the first time since the 1800s, economists haven't even started to count the cost to the economy. But the clean-up bill alone is likely to top $3 billion. In the United States, Robert Penfold, 9 News.
And for the latest, let's go live to New York and Denham Hitchcock. Denham, what's the situation there right now?
Well, Peter, I've finished this day where I started it, down in Battery Park, but a little earlier the water was up to my head, so now it is down to about ankle deep. It is going out as fast as it came in, but you can drive through huge areas of this city 20 minutes at a time without seeing a single light, no building lights, no traffic lights. Those great symbols of New York, the footprints of the world, Twin Towers, and also even the stock exchange, I'm told, has got water damage. They're saying it could take up to a week to repair. Peter, this city has been crippled.
Thank you, Denham. Denham Hitchcock reporting live from New York. Well, to other news now, and a Star St Kilda player has fronted court after spending the night behind bars. Etan Woolley was there. Etan, what can you tell us?
Pete, the Star Saint has been handed 4 charges relating to incidents from the 6th of September to the 24th of October. He's alleged to have sent 98 text messages, 16 Facebook messages, joined the same gym and sent flowers to the workplace of an ex-girlfriend in breach of an intervention order. Because of his history of such behaviour and the sheer volume of the breaches, police today opposed bail in the Moorabbin Magistrates Court, claiming he was likely to re-offend because of his history. The magistrate instead said because he had shown remorse and because it was a wake-up call having a night in jail, she would grant him bail, and also because none of the contact had been threatening, it was unlikely that he would re-offend. He'll now reappear in court on the 22nd of November. Pete?
Right, thanks, Etan. Relatives of murdered mother of 2 Penny Pratt have slammed the 20-year jail term given to her killer, and they're taking legal action against the 000 operators for failing to act on her calls for help. Tim McMillan was in court.
What a joke. The only words this grieving family could find to describe the sentence for a vicious killer.
I just think it's ridiculous. He should be a life for a life.
But instead, the 20-year minimum term means James John Potter could be a free man at 44.
He's a scumbag. He has prior convictions and that should have been taken into account.
In November 2010, Potter drove the mother of 2 to this Baronia flat. He owed her $160. Sensing trouble, she made 2 desperate calls to 000.
Number 2, Alma Avenue, Baronia. I don't know, but you're going to get me bashed.
Instead of putting her calls through to police, the operator did nothing. Shortly after, Penny was dead. Potter and another man shot her 3 times in the face. Potter then stabbed her in the heart, cut her throat and helped dump her body in bushland near Olinda. The Emergency Services Telecommunications Authority, or ESTA, has a motto: saving time, saving lives. But on the night those frantic calls came in, Penny's family says they failed to uphold that motto. They're now suing ESTA for compensation. It's the least they can do for the children Penny has left behind.
She was a beautiful girl and she loved her 2 children and she didn't deserve to die in that manner.
Tim McMillan, 9 News.
Snakes have begun invading Melbourne suburbs, prompting a stark warning to pet owners. Live to Laura Turner in Bulleen. Laura, the warmer weather's really causing some problems.
Well, you're right, Pete. The sun is out, but the snakes are too. This one was caught in Abbotsford at a building site this morning. It's a tiger snake, and it's those as well as brown snakes that we're seeing the most. And of course, we know they are deadly and they can cause fatal injuries to pets. The big warning is for dogs and cats at the moment. The ones you can see now is Melon and Paris, 2 dogs that were attacked by a tiger snake in the backyard of an Altona home. Let's have a listen to their vet.
They can be dead within minutes if they have a severe bite. Some of them, though, take a day or so.
Now, the real danger is in Ivanhoe for snakes at the moment. It, by far, out of any suburb in Melbourne, has had the most call-outs for snake catches. Further in the city, Abbotsford, Clifton Hill and Williamstown are the danger areas. Further out, Craigieburn, Frankston, Melton and Werribee are also pretty dangerous at the moment. And this warning is very important tomorrow, Pete. We're expecting a much hotter day than today, 34 degrees. So the warning for tomorrow is to stay out of the long grass. Pete?
OK, thanks, Laura. Well, the extent of damage from yesterday's monster gusher at Glen Waverley's been revealed. The home which bore the brunt of it likely to be gutted and rebuilt. Thankfully, the ceiling above the family's $60,000 grand piano held up overnight.
There's just so many things going through my mind. It is stressful, and you wish it's never happened.
12-year-old Lauren's prized Justin Bieber poster collection also survived the torrent.
Still shocked, but better than yesterday.
The family will move into more permanent accommodation this week. Well, it's time to cross your fingers and hope for the best. The mammoth $70 million Oz Lotto draw is just hours away from going off. Live now to Justine McKenzie. Justine, do we still have time to purchase a ticket?
Oh, yes, you do, Pete. You should come and join the queue here at Preston. It's been a bit mad here today because they have sold a few winners in the past. But of course, this is different. This is $70 million, the biggest prize pool that Australia's ever seen. That will be drawn at 8:40 this evening. So at least until then, we can afford to dream big. But really, until then, we have to just cross our fingers, as you said, and hope for the best. And get our tickets in. As we said, sales do close at 7:30 tonight. I don't think anyone here would be worried about the odds. There is a 1 in 45 million chance of winning. They aren't the best odds, but I don't think that's going to deter anyone from trying. And Pete, I think I might just be buying myself a ticket too.
And get me one too, please, thanks. When we return, Virgin pounces on rival Tiger Airways. A couple reunited after a lifetime apart. Top Italian designs Aussie women can finally afford. And up close and personal with the Lizard Man. Virgin Australia has launched a major expansion program buying a 60% stake in discount carrier Tiger Airways. The airline's also made a $98 million takeover bid for regional carrier Sky West, while Singapore Airlines has spent $105 million to purchase a 10% share in Virgin. Tiger and Virgin plan to build the budget airlines fleet from 11 to 35 aircraft. Australia's new home sector's taken another hit, with sales dropping 3.7% in September, the third consecutive month of falls. Happier news from the share market, which gained a little more ground today despite Wall Street's storm-enforced closure. The All Ordinaries Index up by 6 points. Our dollar's buying $1.03 US, with little movement elsewhere. A touch of Italian fashion is set to hit the racks of Target, with designer Roberto Cavalli unveiling his Australian collection. The 71-year-old's revealed he's a fan of Kylie Minogue and Miranda Kerr, but was coy about his favourite item of clothing.
My favourite piece will be the one that you like.
The range hits the stores tomorrow. A childhood romance born out of a concentration camp in Budapest has been rekindled in Melbourne more than 60 years later. Thomas Beck thought he'd never see his sweetheart again after escaping, only to discover she was never far away. Sonia Marinelli has their love story.
For Thomas Beck and first love Edith Greenman to find each other after almost a lifetime apart, it's nothing less than a miracle.
I consider myself
well, one of the luckiest people in the world.
I'm the same way. It's just wonderful.
In 1944, the two fell in love in a children's concentration camp in Budapest. He was 15, she just 14.
We just grabbed each other and it was a shoulder to cry on.
But it wasn't to be. Thomas escaped with the help of family and was smuggled across the border.
The only regret I had that I have to leave Edith behind.
But 65 years later, while retracing his steps of survival for a documentary, he found an old friend who had kept in touch with Edith.
I said, is she alive? She is. Where does she live? In Melbourne.
What makes this love story even more incredible is that when Thomas finally reconnected with his childhood sweetheart, he found her living here in this East St Kilda street, just 300 metres from his son's home.
Great excitement to find out that you're so close.
Their journey is featured in the film The One That Got Away, to be screened at the Jewish Film Festival in November.
One of these rare stories that have a real happy ending.
Sonia Marinelli, 9 News.
Actor Tom Cruise has decided against pressing charges against an Australian reality TV show winner and model who mistakenly jumped his fence. Jason Sullivan is believed to have been intoxicated when he climbed into Cruise's compound thinking it was his own home. For his efforts, he was tasered by a security guard and handed over to police. 41-year-old Sullivan won $100,000 on the Nine Network program Homemade 3 years ago. He now runs his own interior design firm in Los Angeles. Tongues were wagging when America's lizard man paid a visit to the Burke Street Mall today. Eric Sprague's undergone more than 700 hours of tattooing and even split his tongue to resemble a reptile.
I've also had Teflon subdermally implanted, grafted to my skull to create the horned ridges over my eyes. My teeth have been filed down into sharp points.
Well, it's believed the lizard man is featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Wow, Tony Jones next with sport. More worries for Gay Waterhouse, Tony?
I don't think she's got any worries compared to Lizard Man there, Pete, but no, she can't take a trick at the moment, can she? The latest drama for Gay coming up after the break. Also, Michael Rodd vows to right the wrongs of a year ago. A sight for sore eyes. How's this for an attack? And no flash in the pan, a new boy muscles in on the V8s.
With all the fun and style of the original, but this time, thanks to intelligent design, it's got even greater fuel efficiency. Plus, enough room inside to fit 4 of your friends. The all-new Mitsubishi Mirage is back. And it's better than ever. Love that car.
Racing first up, and another spring setback for trainer Gay Waterhouse with fitness concerns over Melbourne Cup hope Glenn Caddam Gold. A foot problem kept him away from a track gallop at Flemington this morning. Drama also at the Werribee Quarantine Centre. Early morning at Flemington and the heavy mist which hovered above the track soon gave way to the most glorious of sunrises. Far too nice to be working, according to this horse, who decided to go it alone, leaving behind a none too happy jockey. Up in the stands, Gay Waterhouse was looking more than happy, but there are concerns. Glenn Caddam Gold was missing in action. Instead, he was dispatched to the beach to soothe the problem foot.
Is that a setback this morning, not working him here and that little bit of heat in the foot?
I don't think so. He's a very fit horse. He's been in work a long time. I don't think so. I give them plenty of work. They don't sit around twiddling their thumbs.
Gay's spring, which promised so much, hasn't been all roses, but she's confident Glenn Caddam Gold's campaign remains on track. Across at Werribee, Michael Rodd was back on board Red Cadeau for the first time since last year's narrowest of defeats in the Melbourne Cup. It's now all about R&R for Rodd, revenge and redemption.
Last year is still hurting me. I've had 12 months to think about it and 12 months to relive it, and I've relived it with a lot of people as well.
Earlier today, a virus scare swept the Werribee stables when a Lloyd Williams import returned a high temperature. Blood tests have since given the horse the all clear. Cricket boss James Sutherland says it's now a matter of when, not if, Test cricket in Australia is played at night. No word yet on whether it could be as early as next summer. Ironically, the comments came on the same day as Victoria's Big Three donned sunglasses to promote a new partnership with OPSM. And they've got South Africa in their sights.
I think we've got a pretty aggressive team in Saturday, so I should suspect some fireworks from the fast bowlers.
Meanwhile, arriving home from a successful Champions League campaign, Brad Haddon says he saw his Test omission coming.
It's just about going back and performing. I'm here if they need me, they know that. So
well, they haven't quite come from the clouds, but today a new V8 supercar blew in. Yes, Nixon will go head-to-head with Holden and Ford in next year's championship, and Nixon plan to rev up the competition.
For us, we've got as good an opportunity to go out and have success just as much as any other team, and we're really focused on that and working quite hard towards it.
You still got your Nixon Bluebird, haven't you?
No, I actually don't. Thank you for that. Thanks, Tony. Still to come, Livinia Nixon with the weather.
Pete, Melbourne's forecast temperature for tomorrow has shot up to 34 degrees as the cool change will arrive later in the day than was previously forecast. I'll let you know when we can expect this change to come through and bring the relief from the heat after the break.
Car that you love driving now loves you back. New Mazda 3 loves drivers.
Good evening. It was slightly warmer than expected, reaching a top of 32 at 2:30. It's currently 30 degrees in the city. Around our suburbs, temperatures reaching around 31 degrees with moderate warm northerly winds. Across Victoria, it was even warmer in the north with a top of 34 recorded at Mildura and also Swan Hill. Warm northerly winds have been caused by a high pressure ridge that's over central Australia. Tomorrow, a front is expected to arrive in the afternoon, dropping temperatures and generating showers in the west. Elsewhere tomorrow, a slightly warmer day for Sydney, 24, Brisbane just a chance of showers and 28. Here in Victoria, another warm and pleasant day to begin with. Showers developing in the west as that cool change arrives, extending east overnight. Around our suburbs, it's going to be a hot day, most areas reaching maximums in the low 30s. In the city tomorrow, it'll reach 34 by around 2 in the afternoon. But by 5 p.m. tomorrow evening, showers will develop and the temperatures are expected to drop by as much as 10 degrees. Showers and afternoon storms on Thursday, 18, morning showers and 19 on Friday. A sunny weekend with maximums in the low 20s, cloudier on Sunday, warming up again Monday 27, then 29 on Cup Day with possible afternoon thunderstorms. So tomorrow even warmer, Pete.
Right, thanks, Livinia. And Melbourne, that's what's news this Tuesday. The latest on Superstorm Sandy and our updates throughout the evening. But for now, it's good night.